Liam Cortez arrived at the AGT stage with a heart full of fear and dreams too big for someone who had grown up with so little. At only 22, the young singer from Cebu City had traveled farther than he ever imagined, physically, emotionally, spiritually. As he stepped onto the stage, the blinding white lights washed over him, making the huge audience melt into a soft blur. For a moment, he felt like he was back home, standing inside the tiny karaoke bar his family used to run, where every birthday, every heartbreak, and every small celebration lived in memories stitched together by music. But this was different. This was America's Got Talent, a stage bigger than anything he had ever known. The glossy floor reflected the glow of the massive screens behind him, and the judges' table shimmered like something out of a dream he had no right to dream. His hands trembled, though he tried to hide it by clutching the old brass microphone charm hanging from his neck. It belonged to his father, who spent years singing at local fiestas and small bars, hoping one day to record even one song. He never got the chance. When Liam lost him, music became both the wound and the healing. Every note carried his father's voice, pushing him forward. And now, standing in front of Simon Cowell, the man whose opinion had the power to change everything, Liam felt that familiar ache rising in his chest. He took a slow breath as he faced the judges. "Hi, I'm Liam Cortez, from Cebu City, Philippines." His accent carried the warmth of home, and the audience reacted with a gentle mix of curiosity and encouragement. Sofia Vergara gave him a bright smile. Heidi leaned forward, hands under her chin. Howie nodded politely. But it was Simon's intense stare that made Liam's heartbeat quicken. Simon didn't blink much. He just studied him, as if trying to read the story hidden in the way Liam held himself. "What made you come all the way from the Philippines to audition?" Simon asked, his voice even but sharper than the others. Liam swallowed hard. This was the part he feared, not the singing, not the crowd, but the truth he carried inside him. "I came here," he said softly, "because my father had a dream. He always wanted to sing on a stage like this. He used to say that music is the one thing that can travel farther than people can. After he passed away, I felt like I had to continue his dream for him. So here I am." The theater felt quiet, the kind of quiet that feels heavy rather than empty. Liam's voice cracked just slightly, but he didn't look away. A few audience members murmured softly, some nodding, others wiping their eyes though the story had barely begun. Even from where he stood, Liam could feel the shift, like everyone understood a piece of his pain, even those who had never heard of Cebu or felt the kind of loss he carried. Simon lowered his eyes for a brief second, then looked back at him with a subtle change in expression, not pity, but respect. A recognition that this young Filipino singer wasn't chasing fame. He was chasing meaning. The stage manager signaled. The cameras zoomed in. Liam tightened his grip on the charm, took another breath, and prepared for the moment that could change not only his life, but the dream he had inherited. In that second, as the entire hall waited in silence, the young man from Cebu felt the presence of his father more clearly than ever. This stage, this moment, this heartbeat, he was no longer standing alone. The moment the first soft chords filled the AGT theater, Liam Cortez felt the world narrow into a single breath. The lights dimmed, the audience hushed, and the giant LED screens behind him shifted into gentle blues and golds that reminded him of the sunsets he used to watch from the rooftops of Cebu City. He closed his eyes for half a second, letting the warmth of that memory settle his shaking hands. Then he opened them again, because this was not the time to hold back. This was the moment he had chased across oceans. He leaned slightly toward the microphone, the stage air cool on his skin. His song, "Isang Awit, Isang Pangarap," carried his heart inside every line, and as his voice slipped into the first verse, the entire room seemed to inhale with him. The softness of his opening note floated above the audience like a whispered confession, delicate but steady. People leaned forward unconsciously, as if drawn in by an invisible thread. His accent gave the lyrics a gentle Filipino rhythm, something unique, something that made the song unmistakably his. His voice strengthened with each measure. He wasn't just singing, he was remembering. He saw flashes of his mother counting money at their sari-sari store late at night, pretending she wasn't tired. He remembered singing at local cafes where the microphone crackled and the speakers buzzed, yet he sang anyway because he believed that even broken things could still carry beauty. He pictured himself walking alone through the airport in Manila, clutching a one-way ticket he could barely afford, terrified but determined not to waste the chance he was given. The melody lifted into the chorus, and everything inside him surged forward. His voice rose, clear, emotional, full of the longing he had tried to hide for so many years. It wasn't perfect in a technical way, but it was perfect in the way truth always is. People in the crowd blinked rapidly, trying to keep themselves composed. One woman in the front row covered her mouth, whispering, "Wow," as her eyes glistened. A man 2 rows behind her felt chills run down his arms. Sofia Vergara looked at Heidi, both stunned. Howie slowly sat back, his eyebrows raised, as if he hadn't expected this much power from someone so gentle. But it was Simon's reaction that mattered most. He had leaned forward only seconds into the performance, his elbows resting on the desk, hands clasped, eyes narrowed, not in judgment but in intense concentration. He was listening to every nuance, every rise and fall of emotion, studying the young Filipino singer as if trying to understand the depth of what he was hearing. The bridge of the song arrived, and Liam's voice dipped into a soft, vulnerable tone. His chest tightened as he let one trembling phrase slip out, one that carried the full weight of singing for someone who would never hear him again. The room held its breath. Even backstage crew members stopped moving. It felt as if the entire theater had paused its heartbeat so his could echo louder. Then came the final high note, bold, heartfelt, soaring with all the courage he could gather. He let it ring, let it fill the rafters, let it speak for every fear, every sacrifice, every moment he had felt too small for the world. When the note finally faded, there was a heartbeat of silence, so complete that Liam wondered if he had imagined the whole thing. Then the audience erupted. People leapt to their feet, clapping wildly. Some cheered, others whistled, others simply stood frozen, overwhelmed by what they had just witnessed. And in that tidal wave of applause and disbelief, Liam stood trembling, realizing that for the first time in his life, he had truly been heard. The theater was still echoing with cheers when the last shimmer of Liam's high note dissolved into the rafters, but underneath all the noise, he could hear the pounding of his own heartbeat. He stood frozen on the AGT stage, breath shallow, fingers trembling around the microphone stand as if letting go would make the moment disappear. Gold and blue lights swept across the audience, revealing rows of people still rising to their feet, clapping with an energy that felt almost unreal. Some faces were teary, others glowing with pride, but all of them were looking at him, really looking at him, as if he was someone worth watching, someone worth remembering. For a boy from Cebu City who had grown up singing on cracked karaoke machines, that alone felt like a miracle. Then the applause slowly softened as the judges prepared to speak. Liam's eyes instinctively went to Simon Cowell. His expression was unreadable at first, still and focused, hands folded in front of him. For a moment, Liam felt his stomach sink. He knew Simon didn't stand easily for emotional stories alone. Talent mattered. Truth mattered. Authenticity mattered. And Simon was not one to say something kind unless he meant it. Liam braced himself, unsure whether he was about to hear a critique that would crush him. But Simon did something unexpected. He exhaled softly, almost in disbelief, and leaned closer to his microphone. "Liam," he began, his voice lower and calmer than usual, "I want to be very honest with you." Liam's chest tightened. His vision blurred slightly around the edges. He nodded, trying to steady himself. The whole room seemed to lean in too. Simon blinked once, slowly, then said, "That wasn't a performance. That was your soul speaking. You didn't come out here trying to impress us. You came here trying to heal something inside yourself. And that's why we felt every second of it." A ripple moved through the audience, a soft murmur of agreement, but Simon wasn't finished. He pressed his hands together, taking another measured breath. "You know," he continued, "I've heard thousands of singers on this stage. Tens of thousands. Very few managed to make me forget this is a competition. But when you sang, I forgot everything except the story you were telling." Liam's lips trembled. He lowered his gaze for a moment, overwhelmed by the sincerity in Simon's voice. When he looked up again, Simon's expression had softened in a rare way, a mix of admiration, respect, and something almost protective. "Your father," Simon said quietly, "would be very, very proud of you. And I hope today you realize you're not just fulfilling his dream. You're creating your own." Before Liam could even process those words, Simon stood up. The audience gasped, then screamed when they saw him reach toward the golden button in front of him. Liam's breath caught. His knees weakened. He shook his head unconsciously, as if refusing to believe what was happening. But Simon pressed the golden buzzer. Everything exploded into gold. Confetti burst from above, shimmering like 1,000 blessings raining down. Liam covered his face, falling to his knees as emotions broke free in uncontrollable waves. The crowd roared, judges stood, stage crew clapped from the sidelines. Simon walked toward the stage edge, nodding at Liam with a smile rarely seen, warm, genuine, deeply moved. Through the falling gold and the burning ache in his chest, Liam felt something he hadn't felt since his father passed, a sense of being lifted, carried, believed in. In that moment, under the storm of golden light, he realized that one song had changed everything, and his dream had finally found its wings.